The next step is to recommend change. Assalamu alaikum, welcome back. What is critical discourse analysis? And what are the steps that involved in doing critical discourse analysis? If you want to do critical discourse analysis, this video is a step-by-step guide with examples. Before we start our lecture, it's a request, please subscribe the channel. If you find this video valuable, please like it and share it. Let's start. In previous videos, we have discussed critical discourse analysis, its role in different fields and its relation with other disciplines. Now, let's talk how critical discourse analysis can be conducted, or what are the steps or methods that can be followed. The first and most important thing before doing critical discourse analysis is identifying a research problem. It means that decide what social issue, inequality, or power relation you want to study. For example, how mainstream newspaper portray refugees. So let's one example. The problem is presentation of or framing of refugees by newspapers. The next one is select data or corpus, the data you want to analyze, meaning choose text, speeches, media articles, or conversation to analyze. So which data you want to analyze? For example, collect 50 newspaper articles relating refugees from different newspapers. Next one is understand the context, means that historical, cultural, and social background of your data. What was the historical background of the article being published? What was the cultural significance? And what was the social background? For example, learn about recent refugee policies, public debates, and political climate before doing analysis of the newspaper articles representing or framing refugees. The next step is choose CDA framework. First, you have identified the research problem, you have collected the data, you have considered the historical or background, you have considered the context. Now, the fourth one is to choose a framework. Which framework, which methodology, which method you are going to apply to do critical discourse analysis. Decide which approach or theorist model you would follow to find analysis. There are a lot of methods you can choose depending on your objectives. But if you talk about methods or framework based on the research problem we have discussed over here. For example, you can select Fairclough's three-dimensional model. You can analyze text and the discursive practice used in particular social context. You can use Van Dijk's socio-cognitive approach, seeing how the text has been linked, how it has been linked with the cognition, mental mind, or society, how it has been used to connect minds of the people with this particular news. You may use Wodak's discourse historical approach by analyzing historical or intertextual contexts, how things have evolved or changed with the passage of time. The next one is analyzing the data you have used, application of the model, and analyzing the data based on your model. Focus area, you may analyze lexical choices like illegal or asylum etc. You may analyze grammar, whether it's activized sentences have been used or passivization, what kind of nominalization has been used, how the metaphors have been used to represent or frame the refugees, You may analyze in groups or out groups, whether they are presented in groups by using we or us, or they have been presented as out groups or externals or threat. Next is analyzing discursive practices. What kind of practices have been used while representing the refugees? Study how text was produced, how it was distributed, how it was consumed. So production from writer or media point of view, consumption from public who have perceived it, and contribution. What was the source or what was the media that was used? Examples: who wrote the article, for which audience, under which policies or conditions. Next is analyzing social practices. Make link the text to how the text was linked to the wider power structures, ideologies, or inequalities. For example, how does the article support or challenging political narratives about immigrations? Whether it challenges the power or it supports the policies. What kind of narrative has it builds? The next step is to interpret and explain the findings of your research, meaning go beyond description. Explain how the discourse reinforces or challenges the power relations. For example, conclude that certain newspapers use fear-based framing to justify restrictive refugees. For example, they use flood, they use illegal, they use threat, because they aim to create fear or strengthen the public or the government or official policies. Next, the last one is reflection and recommendation. Based on your research finding, recommend something for the future studies or for the policymakers, meaning suggest ways to create fairer, more inclusive discourse. For example, recommend using terms that focus on legal status without criminalizing individuals. That instead of using word criminals or legal positions, the refugees may be presented as a normal on humanitarian basis. If I could sum up what steps we have discussed or studied in this lecture, the first one is to identify the problem. The second point is selecting the data or collecting data corpus, is understanding the context of the data, choosing a framework, is analyzing the text or application of the framework on the data. Next, analyzing the discursive practices, how the text was consumed, how the text was distributed, and how it was consumed by the public. Who wrote, what was objective, and what was effect. And analyze the social practices under which all it was done. Interpret the findings. What do they aim? How they are supporting, whether they are challenging the power, whether they are supporting it, whether they are supporting the ideologies, what kind of ideologies they are supporting. The next step is to recommend change, or what do you recommend for the future studies or for the policymakers? What are your recommendations? So these are the steps that can be followed while doing critical discourse analysis. If you have any questions, if you want to know something further, please write in the comment box. If you are new, thank you. Take care.